Hi, I'm Jenny Bortman, President of Universal Insurance Programs. Today I'm here with Bill Meisen, Senior Vice President of Target Segment of Crum Forster, our wonderful insurance company. Besides us both loving insurance, Bill helps run our tanning and salon program. So Bill, why don't you tell us a little bit about Crum and yourself?
Sure, Jenny, and thank you for inviting me to this.
Oh, absolutely. We love having you here.
I've been in the industry almost 40 years now. Boy, I hate to age myself that way, but it's been almost 40 years, and almost all of it has been with specialty insurance companies that focus on very specific industry niches. And these niches are ones that are deemed a little bit more risky than most insurance companies, by most insurance companies. And as a result, most insurance companies shy away from providing coverage to those segments. And we don't. We specifically target them. Historically, I've done architects and engineers and accountants and lawyers for professional liability. Currently, we're doing things like propane industry, the petroleum industry, and
tanning salons.
tanning salons and day spas. And our goal is to really understand the unique risks associated with each of these individual segments, hopefully better than our competition, but then we really apply all of our resources to make sure that we're tailoring our products and services to be able to fulfill and meet the needs of those segments better than our competitors do. Our model is fairly straightforward. We want to make sure that we're specializing every part of our business to that industry. So for tanning salons and day spas, we have specialized underwriters that deal just with that. We have specialty claims people that deal with just that. We have specialty risk engineers that deal with just that. And as part of that model, it's important that we in turn are partnering with experts in the field. And the strategic alliance that we've got between UIP and Crum Forster, I think, is a really good example of that. UIP is a preeminent provider of services to the tanning salon and day spa space, and together we provide a pretty powerful team in terms of providing all the resources that you might need in terms of helping prevent losses in the first place and then mitigating the severity of those losses once they do occur.
Yeah, well, Universal's been doing it for, over 30 years now, and this marketplace is like I've never seen before. Yeah. What are you thinking about the insurance marketplace now?
It's crazy. It's crazy, and it's unlike anything we've seen in decades. And a lot of the same things that are affecting our economy right now are affecting insurance and insurance costs. Those are things like inflation, the supply chain issues. You're dealing with things like the rising costs of health costs, rising costs of defense costs, increased costs of labor. All of those are increasing what an insurance company ultimately has to pay to make one of their insureds whole after a loss.
So a claim that used to be $50,000 is like $150,000.
Right, and juries, you've heard the term nuclear verdicts, and you're seeing for very similar injuries that occurred 10 years ago, the juries are putting a much higher value on those same injuries today. And that is increasing the cost of insurance as well. Natural disasters, another big one. So named storms, hurricanes, wildfires, tornadoes and hail. Over $90 billion of tornado hail losses in the insurance.
90 billion, not million, 90 billion.
In just 1 year.
1 year.
And so that doesn't make the news a lot, but all of that is going on underneath as well. And all of them go to just increase the overall cost that unfortunately ultimately gets passed on to the buyer of insurance.
So we're seeing an uptick, unfortunately, not just in severity, but also frequency.
That's right.
What can our owners and operators do to help prevent this or reduce their insurance costs?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, and that's one that you and I know, spend a lot of time talking about, because we're trying.
A lot of these are small operators. I mean, when their premium goes up 30%, they feel it.
It's huge. It's huge. I would say the number one thing they can do is it starts with a culture of risk management, that owners have to emphasize the importance of risk management. They need to make sure that the employees understand that that's a priority. Most employees are going to sit there and look at their owners and say, okay, what are they looking at to evaluate my performance? And if they're getting consistent feedback that, hey, you need to focus on the premises, making sure it's safe, risk management techniques. And
open and closing procedures.
Absolutely. So let's start with how you find your employees.
Okay.
Where are you sourcing them? Are you doing background checks? Do you know who you're bringing into the
What kind of background
organization?
checks?
Right. Your training. When's the last time you went through your training and specifically looked at it from a risk management perspective? And then do you follow up on that training so that you get those refresher courses and employees know that's top of mind type stuff that I need to continue to be focused on that. So really it's the culture that comes from above that everybody understands that we need to focus on making sure we're providing a comfortable, safe environment for our clients.
Well, yeah, you see our claims, and some of these are so preventable.
They are.
Some of the equipment maintenance, like what do you recommend on that?
Yeah, so you go through the claims. You look at electrical fires. I think it's what you're referencing. Many of them come from the tanning beds themselves, and many of the older beds,
Older equipment.
specifically. They still work, right? And so people are reluctant to switch them out. But if you're not going to switch them out, I think it's important that you at least make sure they're being maintained to the manufacturer's specifications. Other things like, no overuse of extension cords and stuff that would put undue stress on circuit breakers and those types of things. I mean, those are big ones.
About spray booths, the water damage.
But it's that culture, that in-between usage,
Right.
that employees know, hey, there's a wet hazard there. Is there a dry mop available to help clean that up? Keeping debris and other clutter out of the way. So again, that people have a great experience when they come into your spa. Waivers is another big issue. Making sure that employees know what those waivers cover and why they're in place, and making sure they can effectively communicate that to somebody coming into their facility, and making sure every person every time is signing those waivers and then storing them in a place where they're accessible if a year or two down the line a claim ultimately comes in.
Yeah, going back to the slips, trips, and falls, your experience in grocery stores. We used to think of the MedPay coverage as this goodwill coverage,
Right.
but there's a different slant nowadays just because of the litigious environment. Can you explain why it would actually be a benefit for our operators not to have the coverage?
Sure. Premises medical coverage is a unique cover in insurance because it's not triggered by liability.
Right.
So what the medical payment coverage says is that if someone gets injured in your facility, regardless of whether you did anything wrong, regardless of whether you were negligent or not, the policy just provides a gratuitous payment of those medical bills up to a certain limit.
Here's $5,000.
Here's $5,000. And a lot of times those claims are meritorious, not meritorious. The insured did nothing wrong. And
so why should their insurance policy pay for that?
right, and then the downside of that, another downside of that, is that money is used to fund the litigation against you. Now, you didn't do anything wrong, you've already given them money, and they're using that money to hire a lawyer and potentially bring forward a frivolous lawsuit.
So it starts at the $5,000 payment, and then it can turn into
something bigger. Now, so what do? Our recommendation is that we remove that coverage.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, what do you mean? We're not going to pay for the medical bills of someone that gets hurt? And the answer to that is no.
Right.
There's nothing that prevents us to cover the medical bills of someone that was injured as a way to mitigate the loss, as long as it can be tied to something the insured did where they may be held responsible for those damages. And we do that on the vast majority of claims. If there can be a credible allegation, we'll pay those losses. We'll mitigate that loss, but we're just not obligated to do it when we know we did absolutely nothing wrong. And so then we're really using that to help curb the push of frivolous lawsuits against our insureds.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're all about preventing avoidable claims. We're seeing fires, weather, slips, trips, and falls, inflation. I mean, that's a lot going on in just like one span of 12 months.
That's right. That's right.
Well, we appreciate everybody watching today. We're all about doing things to help you guys out. Bill, we appreciate you coming and enjoying our Phoenix sunny weather, and we'll talk to y'all soon.
Thank you.